Let me introduce our next speaker. He's going to be talking about the power of belief. Dr. Gary Berman, a medical mysticism, talking about the union of body, mind, and spirit with universal energy, and a method of communicating with this energy to help you heal physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Please help me welcome Dr. Gary Berman.
Professional licensing degree and a doctor of physics and doctor of chiropractic. I've studied many forms of natural healing for the past 30 years. Without doubt, that my most important ability is the fact that I'm a mystic and I've created and I've developed and I use every day in my office my own methods that I call medical mysticism for the health of my patients and for myself. Now, the purpose of my talk is threefold. Number one, I'll define to you what I mean by the words mysticism and medical mysticism. Number two, I'm going to show you a very simple concept about how you can explain hows and the whys of your life and living. And three, I want to give you a very simple concept also that will allow you to start making more sense with your choices so you can improve the quality of those choices. But let me begin with a very important question. And this is the question that's hounded me for the past 30 years. It goes like this. Why do people become sick? How do people become well? And more importantly, how do we stay well? Now this is a very important question, not just because of my patients, because I'm a practicing doctor. It turns out that for the last 3 generations in my family, every male in my family, by the time they reached age 50, either died of heart disease or they had serious heart attacks. So the quality of their life was greatly diminished and they died shortly around age 50. Now I'm well past 50. And I haven't had any problems with my heart. And the reason I believe this is because 30 years ago, I began to understand what the difference was between fact and fiction. You see, statistically speaking, more people in this country, regardless of their sex, will die of heart disease than all the illnesses combined. Now let me state this again. Statistically speaking, more of you in this audience, regardless of your age and your sex, are going to die of heart disease than any illness we know of, and all of them in combination. Now, there's a fallacy. The fallacy is that the medical community is telling us that there are 4 primary causes of heart disease. They tell us that high blood pressure, smoking, diabetes, that high blood fats are the primary causes of heart disease. That's not the facts. The facts are that there is one day of the week and one time during that day when more people die of heart disease in this country than any other day and time during the week. Now, your laugh is not Saturday. Now, if you're thinking about Monday, 9 o'clock in the morning, Monday, 9 a.m., you're exactly correct. Monday, 9 a.m. More people die in this country of heart disease than any other day or time during that day. Now, we're the only species known to man that can create mass extinction. No other species that we know of can do something like this, die at a specific time on a specific day. Okay? Now, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to think that we don't have all pieces of the puzzle. And I don't think it's a very far stretch to think also that maybe, just maybe, 9 o'clock in the morning on Monday is associated with the quality of your life. Am I happy with my job? Am I happy with the way my life is going? Okay. Now, since 1971, we've known that the people, that almost 93% of the people in this country that have heart attacks, their first heart attack, they don't have 4 of those parameters that we just discussed. They don't have 3. They don't have 2. They don't even have 1 of those parameters that we just discussed. Diabetes, high blood pressure, smoking, and blood fats. They don't even have, they have 0 of those parameters. Okay. Go back to a study that was done in 1973 by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts wanted to get an idea of what's causing heart disease. So they commissioned a medical study, and they found that when they started with those 4 properties of heart disease, they were shocked by the results. The results indicated that the two primary causes of heart disease in these countries are related to, number one, the happiness you have with your job, and number two, a nebulous quality of life, satisfaction with overall life and living. Now, is it just about heart disease that this occurs? No. You can go back to 1987. The Boeing Aircraft Corporation did a study with over 33,000 of their employees. It didn't matter whether we were talking about the lowest blue-collar worker or the highest level of the corporation. It didn't matter whether the people were making very little money or the most money in the corporation. It had nothing to do with that. The people that were immune from back problems, immune, their own words, not mine, were people that had happiness with their job. Now, is it just about back issues and heart disease that we see this? Every illness known to man, strokes, cancer, you name it. When you put in psychological parameters and you compare those to physiological parameters, the psychological parameters are always coming up first. Now the question is, why aren't we discussing this in the medical community? And I propose the reason why we're not doing this is very simply this. That medical doctors cannot write a prescription to change your belief systems about your life. And guess what? I'm in the alternative health field. I love my profession. I love it dearly. But we can't give you exercises, we can't give you nutrition, we can't give you diets that are going to change your belief systems either. And since I'm a practicing doctor and I have a lot of patients, and I want to keep myself well too, I have to address issues that are not easily talked about with most people. So one night about a year and a half ago, I had a dream. Don't discount your dreams. And in that dream, I was shown what I believe is the answers to all of these statements and all the research. And you can find all of this research and a lot more very easily. So here's what came to me in the dream. I call this my life chart. This is not just about physical health. It goes far beyond physical health. This is about your life. And in this model that came to me in my dreams, we have a beginning point. Something happens to you. Some event happens. We have some areas we ascend, we come up to finally getting results. We either get negative results or positive results. And then it feeds back to the beginning. But let me take you through this. Okay? From the time you open your eyes in the morning to the time you close them at night, your belief systems are working to decide what you're going to feel and believe. You're either going to respond to circumstances one of two ways. You'll respond either out of fear and self-judgment, right there, or you're going to respond out of love and desire, right here. And you can take all of your emotions, I don't care what they are, you take all the negative emotions and boil them down right here, and self-judgment is a more extreme form of fear. Now, all the positive emotions, you can boil those down to a very simple concept of either love or desire, which is a more extreme form of love. That's it. Your beliefs will either focus you one way or the other to respond to a circumstance. Now, I believe that fear and self-judgment primarily reside in the brain. Now, psychologists tell us that there are only two fears that a human is born with. The fear of falling and the fear of loud noise. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a lot more than just those two fears. So where did my fears come from? Where did yours come from? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. We could say one would be our families, right? Right? Our social institutions, our medical institutions, our religious institutions, you name it. Anyone who's in control and has power over us is dumping their limitations and their beliefs, their limited beliefs, onto us. Until eventually, guess what? We begin accepting them. And we repeat them tens of thousands of times until we actually believe we are those limited beliefs. And we start having these fears and self-judgments. Okay? So I believe this resides primarily in the brain. What about love and desire? Well, again, this came to me partly in the dream. Love and desire, I believe, comes from your spirit. Literally, your spirit. Now, the belief in the spirit is called mysticism. I call it medical mysticism because I'm trained as a doctor, and a large number of people come to us for issues involving symptoms. But there's a large number of people that come to us to answer questions far beyond that. Like, where should I live? What house should I buy? What's wrong with my dog and cat? You were born with an incredible amount of information inside your body because whatever you call God and you created a plan. This is my belief system. created a plan before you were born, and God loved you enough that at the time of conception, the plan in that spirit was placed in your body so that whatever you needed help with, wherever you were in life, you could just access that information. It would come to you so you would always know what to do. Sound phenomenal? Is it good to be true? I hope so, because it is. And it works for you just as well as it works for me. So how do we access this? Well, first we have to understand. I believe, again, that this spirit plan is placed in our bodies at a specific site. I believe that area is, you go to your navel, and make a fist, and go just under that navel. About the center of my fist is where I believe that spirit and that plan lies. Now, think about this. Now remember, I'm thinking of this more as a scientist and as a health practitioner. This is advanced physics that we're talking about. So up here in the brain, we have fear and self-judgment. Down here in this area, we have a spirit that wants to give us all the right information. Both of these are powering this antenna system. This is an antenna system. This is not just a spine. This antenna system allows me to communicate with you and you with me, and everyone with each other. By the second law of antenna theory, every antenna transmits and receives information. So here's what happens with me. Before I meet a patient, all I want is their name. I don't care where they are in the world. It doesn't really matter. This energy goes anywhere and everywhere in the world, and it goes faster than this. So at night before I meet my patient, I'll get their name, and I have a library of information that covers structural issues, biochemical issues, emotional issues, spiritual issues. And from their name, the spirit wants them well. Your spirit wants you well. Your spirit does not want you sick. So their spirit's trying to get through to them to tell them what to do. Because guess what? This brain and this fear and self-judgment is most likely getting in the way. So they'll tell me what I need to tell them. So the next day when I see them, I'll tell them all the information that came out. And most people are generally very surprised. And most people, when I tell them most of these things, actually, when they think about it, they're not really that surprised. They know it, they've already been it. Now, how do you do this? Well, there's training you can go through. With Berman, John Webster, and myself, we put on classes at the Unity Church on Forest Lane on how to communicate with the Holy Spirit. There are several people here for the class, so thank you for being here today. And if you have any questions, the ones who are from the class, you mind raising your hands. So if you want to talk to them about the class, you can talk to them. Thank you. I'll be more than happy to tell you this. But it's a learned skill. It's like learning how to tie your shoes or riding a bicycle. You have to learn the skill. You can learn this. They've learned it. You can learn it. And the more you practice, the better you get. So, let me go through this. The brain gives us fear and self-judgment that prevents us from ever getting well. And if we try to solve a problem based on this side of the equation, we're always going to get negative results. And I don't care how much work you do through here. But let's suppose, because you guys are evolved, you guys are smart, that you now understand this, and you're going to do everything you can to stay in love and desire. So the next level up is the biological area. So what happens there? These are the diets, the exercise. This is the nutrition. This is the massage, the acupuncture. These are all these different properties. Now, how do I know what to suggest to you? You do. Your spirit tells me. There's no way on earth I can come up with this stuff unless it came from you. And your spirit knows. And it wants to tell you just as readily as it tells me, because you know more about yourself than I ever will, or any doctor does. And if it's not getting through, then this is blocking. And most of you have let it get through at different times, because most of you have had the gut response. How many people felt it in their gut that sometimes, some point in their life, they chose something because it felt right, and it turned out correct? Just by feeling. How many people have had that happen? Okay, for that moment, maybe, you let this pass, you were over here, and you felt the truth. You see where I'm going with this? It's a learned skill. And you can take this to the bank. That when you're in this area and you get like methods, you tell you, hey, do this and do that. If you do it, you're probably high 90% correct. High 90% correct. I'd say 100% you may not believe, but at least high 90%. Okay? So, you stay here. We work through the biological issues, and like I said, your spirit will guide us to tell us what we need to do. And then, lo and behold, the emotions start shifting and changing. You start thinking better, believing better, maybe even smiling more and acting better towards yourself. And you don't have to do anything about it. It naturally happens. It's a natural gravitation. It's an ascension through here. Now, probably there are some of you here that are taking Prozac, or maybe other psychogenic drugs. I don't know. But if you are, the danger with taking MD drugs, if you're not careful, the danger can be that you start working here and have not supported yourself thoroughly here. Without a strong foundation, the drugs may stop working. Or if they continue to work, they can cause problems beyond what you could expect. Every drug, no matter what it is, at some point will initially cause the same problem that you're trying to solve. At some point, every drug will do that. So you've got to, I believe, work through this in a very specific manner. And then we get to the concept of fields. Now, I'm a physicist, okay? Fields are energies that work at a distance. Now, this is not hocus pocus. I mean, fields. Colors are electromagnetic fields. Look at magnets. Magnets are magnetic fields. Suppose I took a big, big magnet, and I took a bar of steel. And let's suppose the magnet was strong enough. If I release that bar of steel, what do you think would happen to the bar of steel? It would probably go towards the magnet, right? The field, the magnetic field, draws the steel to the magnet. But get a load of this. You guys are powerful magnets. You are incredibly powerful magnets. And if you're on this side of the equation, and you start putting out strong fields, what do you think you're attracting? If you're working from love and desire, do you think you're attracting good things? Yes or no? Yes, of course you are. You're attracting good things. And suppose you can be equally as strong on this side in fear and self-judgment. So if you're putting out a lot of fear and self-judgment, what do you think you're going to attract here? Good things or bad things? Only bad things. And then we wonder why our lives aren't working. We wonder about this. When everything that happens to us, I believe, is under our control. These are laws of the universe. We are in control of this. And I don't believe we're designed to hurt ourselves by getting negative results. I believe it's God's trying to get through to us to say, hey, come on, I want to love you, I want to help you. Stop thinking about this and concentrate on this and give me a chance to work. Because eventually what happens, at some point, if we can go here long enough, now we're vibrating in the same plane as God. Do you hear what I just said? You're vibrating in the same plane as God. Now what does that mean? That means that when you build up all of these lower foundations, what you want materializes that fast. I mean, the moment you want it, there it is. Now, remember, whether you go up this way or that way, you can get negative things just that fast, too. Just that fast. Because God loves you enough to give you what you ask for. God's not going to stop you from giving you what you want. So if you want this, love and desire, you're going to see great positive results. And if you want fear and self-judgment, you're going to get negative results. Now, here's another part that's beautiful here. The system never stops. It never stops. Because then it starts feeding back to the beginning. And that's the good news. And the good news is this, look, I don't care if you fail with everything you've ever done in your past. And I don't even care if you fail with the things you're doing right now. What's important is, if you were to make the decision to start working from here, love and desire, think of what your future could be like. Can you imagine? This changed my life about 30 years ago. When I was told by 4 MDs I had less than 3 years to live. Got my attention what I was doing with my life. And until I took charge of my thought process, nothing I was doing was working. Because medical science had no hope for me. I was in one of the top 10 medical schools in the country. I just finished my doctorate degree in physics and went right into medical school. And after my first year of medical school, I got very sick. I studied natural remedies because that's what helped me heal. Because I studied natural remedies because that's what helped me heal in the biological areas. But I realized that wasn't the problem. The problem was in my choices, right here. And until I could get that understood, I wasn't making much progress. No, it's been 30 years. The rest is history. If it works for me, it'll work for you. And I've worked with over 2,500 patients in the 10 years I've been a doctor. And I'll tell you this, the people that get well, there's no secret for this. They stay here. And then they understand this is a gradual building process. It doesn't happen overnight. It does work. And the people who don't get well, they're over here. And the bad news is that if you stay in fear and self-judgment, not even God can help you. Because God gives you permission to stay there. You have to consciously make a decision to decide what you want. Because you're going to get it. So let me summarize this whole thing. Your belief system decides completely what happens to you. Your belief system is entirely under your control. The good news is you can choose. And the great news is you can get fantastic results with your life if you give it a chance to work. And I believe this is the method that Jesus used to become Christ. I believe that every spiritual leader in the world, Muhammad, Buddha, I don't care who they've been, follow a system like this to get up to whatever ascension they need it to be. It doesn't have to be about spiritual issues. It could be about forming more friends or finding money or finding love. I don't care what it is. You have to choose what you want. So, what do you think? Make sense? Well, thank you. You've been a great audience. And if there's anything I can do to help you, I have a booth here. I'll be here today. I'll be here tomorrow. My office manager, Joy King, is right there. If you won't have any questions, please talk to her. Do we have just a couple minutes? 3 minutes. Are there any questions? Can I answer maybe a couple of questions?
Can you tell a little bit more about the class we have?
Okay. For 10 weeks, we select 20 students to go into a program where we mentor them to teach them how to get in touch with this energy and be able to communicate with the spirit. And it's about 7:30 at night to 9 o'clock at night. In the mentoring program, there are people that will help you with this. And then we teach you different ideas and concepts during those 10 weeks. Now, it's a selective process. We get anywhere from 70 to 500 people apply for 20 spaces. Berman John Webster puts a number attached to each name. I don't know who's who. I don't want to know. He gives me the numbers, I scan through all the numbers, and whoever's spirit is ready to come in, they make it. We've got some people that have waited for 7 years. Yeah. We've got other people that have made it the first time. It just depends on what they're ready. Any other questions? Any other questions?
They asked where is the booth and is it under a healing center? Is that?
It's under the healing center. You can have Joy will help you too. Let me go back to one thing here. I said I would give you a simple technique. Let me just do this for you. People ask, how do we go from fear and self-judgment to love and desire? Okay, people ask that. I think this is important. Here's my simple technique. Real fast. Ask yourself this. If I take this action, and I don't care what the action is, I don't care whether it's drinking water, talking to a friend, putting on clothing, coming here, I don't care what the action is. If I take this action, does it show more self-love and respect to me? You better get a yes to that. Because if you get a maybe, that's the same thing as a no. And if you try to violate that by taking actions that you know will not show you self-respect or love, you're always going to be operating out of fear and self-judgment. You'll always get negative results. And if that's what you want, no one can stop you. But if you can get a yes to that, the yes, I'm doing things because I love myself and I'm going to show respect for myself, you're always operating from here, and you will always get the positive results that you want. Imagine that you're allowed to choose things like this. Does it make sense? That's one of the simplest, fastest ways I know of changing your belief system from here over to there. It's the simplest way I know, and it works for every person. Well, again, I can't thank you enough. You've been a great audience. If there's anything